Martial arts, ancient, graceful, deadly. We've all seen it in action, in movies, documentaries, and combat sports. But when it comes to the modern battlefield, where bullets fly faster than thought and technology rules, do martial arts still matter? Is it fact, or fiction, that hand-to-hand combat training has a place in 21st century warfare? Let's cut through the myths and Hollywood exaggerations. Martial arts, as we traditionally think of them, karate, taekwondo, kung fu, jiu-jitsu, originated long before drones, tanks, and night vision goggles. Yet today, military special forces around the world still train in hand-to-hand combat. But why? Is it effective in real-life war zones, or is it just a psychological tool, building confidence, discipline, and fearlessness? The reality lies somewhere in the middle. While it's true that most military engagements today happen from long range, using firearms, explosives, and sophisticated tech, there are moments, rare but real, where soldiers find themselves up close, weaponless, and vulnerable. In those intense seconds, instinct kicks in. And that's where martial arts can mean the difference between life and death. The U.S. Army has its own hand-to-hand combat system called the Modern Army Combatives Program. It blends Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, and other techniques into a combat-ready format designed for military use. It's not about flashy moves or movie stunts. It's about survival. Soldiers are trained to neutralize threats quickly, efficiently, and brutally, without hesitation. But let's be clear, this isn't about a kung fu master taking down a squad of armed enemies with spinning kicks. That's Hollywood. On the real battlefield, any soldier trying to perform a showy move in open combat would be putting themselves, and their unit, at extreme risk. It's not about style. It's about function. Still, the martial arts influence is undeniable. Look at the Israeli Krav Maga, developed specifically for real-world combat situations. No rituals, no sport-like rules, just pure efficiency. Disarm, disable, disengage. Krav Maga is taught not just to soldiers but also to law enforcement officers around the world. It's brutal, fast, and designed to work under extreme stress. Then there's the Russian Spetsnaz, who incorporate a unique martial art called Systema, an approach that blends relaxation, breathing, and fluid movement with powerful strikes and joint manipulations. Again, the focus isn't on tradition. It's on adapting ancient techniques to modern chaos. In fact, even the Chinese military still incorporates aspects of traditional kung fu in their training, not as the core of battlefield tactics, but as a way to instill mental toughness, agility, balance, and body control. It's not about using kung fu in the trenches. It's about preparing the mind and body for any scenario. But beyond the practical, there's the psychological element. Martial arts build a warrior mindset. In the chaos of battle, when everything is noise and fear, soldiers need to rely on something deeper than instinct. They need calm under pressure. They need confidence. Martial arts training helps develop that. It turns fear into focus, panic into presence. Let's look at modern-day combat sports as well. Many special operations units now include mixed martial arts training as part of their physical readiness programs. Not because they expect to fight in cages, but because MMA simulates the intensity, unpredictability, and pain tolerance required in close-quarters combat. Wrestling teaches control. Muay Thai teaches timing. Jiu-Jitsu teaches patience and technique. These skills translate into battlefield readiness. But does it mean martial arts will win a war? No. Wars are won with strategy, firepower, logistics, and technology. Martial arts won't stop a drone strike. They won't jam a satellite or disable a tank. But they might help a soldier survive a night raid, escape a chokehold, or disarm an enemy in an ambush. In the unpredictable fog of war, every edge counts. Let's talk about fiction for a moment. Pop culture has fed us wild fantasies, lone warriors using kung fu to defeat entire armies, martial arts masters dodging bullets, using pressure points to knock people out instantly. None of that holds up under real combat conditions. Martial arts are not magic. They don't make you invincible. What they do offer is structure, confidence, and a set of tools that can tip the scale when things go sideways. We must also acknowledge the ceremonial and cultural value of martial arts in military traditions. In countries like Japan, South Korea, and China, martial arts are not just fighting techniques, they're expressions of history, philosophy, and national pride. For many soldiers, practicing martial arts is a way to connect with their roots, maintain discipline, and carry on ancient legacies. Now, let's ask, what about untrained opponents? In peacekeeping missions, riot control, or when facing insurgents with improvised weapons, martial arts training gives soldiers a non-lethal edge. It helps them subdue threats without pulling a trigger. That's vital in operations where winning hearts and minds is as important as controlling territory. In hostage rescue scenarios, or when operating in tight urban environments, firearms may not always be an option. In those moments, split-second decisions, combatants need to act fast, close the distance, and neutralize threats without collateral damage. That's where skills like joint locks, chokes, and takedowns come into play. And that's where martial arts show their true power, not in fantasy, but in precision and purpose. So is martial arts in modern warfare fact or fiction? The answer, it's fact, but not the kind Hollywood sells. It's real, gritty, effective, but limited. It supplements, not replaces, the tools of modern war. Martial arts don't dominate the battlefield, but they sharpen the warrior. Today's elite soldiers are hybrids, part athlete, part strategist, part fighter. They are trained in cyber warfare and close combat, drones and discipline. And martial arts remains part of that balance, not because it's flashy, but because it works in the margins where chaos lives. Martial arts aren't outdated. They're evolving, adapting. From ancient battlefields to modern war zones, they remain one of the few disciplines that train both body and mind, readying warriors for the known and the unknown. So next time you see a soldier throwing a punch in a war movie, ask yourself, is it real? Maybe not in the way it's shown. But behind that punch, behind the discipline, there's centuries of philosophy, training, and warrior spirit, refined not for show, but for survival. And that is the truth behind martial arts in modern warfare. Not fiction. Just fact, wrapped in centuries of focus, forged in combat, and still fighting for relevance in a world of drones and data. But let's go even deeper. To understand the full scope of martial arts in warfare, we have to step back and ask, what is a martial art, really? The word martial comes from Mars, the Roman god of war. So at its core, martial arts were never about sport or meditation. They were developed as systems of combat, designed to kill or survive being killed. Their spiritual side came later. First, they were forged in blood. From the battlefields of feudal Japan to the guerrilla warfare of Southeast Asia, these techniques weren't meant for point scoring, they were for survival in mud, snow, jungle, or ruin. Before guns ruled war, fists, blades, sticks, and strategy were everything. Yet in the age of guided missiles and surveillance satellites, why are militaries still investing in this ancient knowledge? Let's examine the case of close quarters combat, or CQC. It's brutal, ugly, and over in seconds. You're talking hallway ambushes, stairwell confrontations, room-clearing missions. In that kind of space, a gun can be more of a liability than a help. An enemy grabs the barrel, jams your arm, and suddenly it's man against man. That's when martial arts prove invaluable, not for elegance, but for efficiency. CQC training doesn't look like a dojo demonstration. It's stripped down to the bone. A knee to the groin. A thumb to the eye. A choke that knocks someone out in seconds. All while wearing body armor, night vision, and carrying 50 pounds of gear. That's not something you learn in a weekend self-defense class. That's conditioning born from repetition, pain, and psychological preparation. Let's take a real example, Special Forces units like Navy SEALs, SAS, Delta Force. These are among the most elite warfighters on Earth. Their missions often involve extreme environments, hostage rescue, sabotage, anti-terror raids. These operatives train in advanced combat systems that integrate martial arts principles with modern battlefield needs. They don't need to be black belts, they need to be unstoppable. Most of them learn disciplines like Jiu-Jitsu for ground control, Muay Thai for striking, and wrestling for holds. But they also learn how to transition from unarmed to armed combat in a blink. Disarm a gun. Use a knife. Escape zip ties. Flip an attacker using momentum. It's not flashy, it's lethal. And it doesn't stop there. Military intelligence units sometimes undergo martial arts training not for direct combat, but for evasion. If captured behind enemy lines, how do you escape restraints? How do you silently subdue a captor? How do you fight when drugged, injured, or blindfolded? These scenarios are real in spycraft and reconnaissance missions. Martial arts gives these agents tools that most civilians will never see or understand. Meanwhile, in law enforcement and riot control, martial arts principles become vital for crowd management, takedowns, and non-lethal force. You can't shoot every threat. You can't punch your way through a crowd. But you can redirect force, manipulate joints, or control without escalating. That's judo. That's aikido. That's technique over strength. Let's talk about psychological warfare. Many martial arts, particularly traditional ones, focus on breathing, posture, and calmness under pressure. This is crucial in war, where mental breakdowns can kill. Imagine a 19-year-old soldier on their first deployment, caught in an ambush, bullets flying, friends screaming. Without training, panic takes over. But with martial arts conditioning, there's a chance to find stillness amid chaos. That's not fiction. That's neuroscience. Controlled breathing slows your heart rate, sharpens your focus, and reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. Martial artists know this. Special forces rely on it. Now let's explore the global perspective. Different nations have developed their own military martial arts systems, tailored to their doctrine and culture.